Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam rasulullah. This is Edward Ahmed Mitchell. I'm very happy now to discuss something that is so important to not only the people you're going to hear from today, but our entire country. It's something that impacted all of us and something that we need to reflect upon. That is the COVID-19 pandemic, how it impacted the American people, and what Muslim leaders did to try to help people cope and deal with this and remember those we have lost. I'm very happy to have this important discussion with our two guests, Mohammed Nasrullah and Ruth Nasrullah. Many of you may know them. Mohammed is a longtime resident of Houston, Texas. He's a former project manager who worked on the NASA projects for over 40 years. He is the former board chair and president of CARE Houston. He serves right now as the president of Amnesty International, Bay Area, Houston. He is also on the executive board of the Multicultural Center in Webster, Texas. Longtime activist, community organizer. May Allah bless him for his work. We also have with us Ruth Nasrullah, who is a freelance journalist, also based in Houston. You might guess the connection there. She is president of the Houston chapter of the Society of Professional Journalists and a member of the Society for Environmental Journalists and the Association of Healthcare Journalists. She is also a certified Texas Master Naturalist and a certified interpreter guide. She has a master's in journalism from Emerson and a master of fine arts in creative nonfiction from Gucher College. And Ruth is also a wonderful member of the community. May Allah bless you as well, Ruth, for your work. So let's dive into this discussion. Mohammed, first, tell me about the COVID Wall of Memories. What was this project? Tell us about it.
So back in 2020, when the pandemic hit our country and we were seeing in the news the number of people who are getting infected and number of people who are getting hospitalized and dying, all we would see in the news were numbers. I mean, numbers, thousands and thousands, and we would wonder, who are the people behind all these numbers, and slowly we started finding out that these numbers were people who were in our community, in our schools, teachers, doctors, nurses. So when the number of people who died in our country reached 100,000 in the April-May timeframe, we felt like we needed to do something to remember and honor and memorialize these victims of this terrible disease. So we got together, jotted down our ideas, talked to a few folks, and we decided that we should create a virtual memorial to honor all these folks who are dying of this terrible disease, this pandemic. And we started working with a website developer to create this virtual memorial. And it has two purposes. It's the first mission is to honor, remember, and memorialize these COVID-19 victims in our country, and the other mission is to tell the story of COVID through newsletters and vaccination events and blog posts on the website. And Ruth can probably elaborate more on that side of the project.
Mohammed, thank you, Mohammed. Let me go to you, Ruth. So tell us about the impact this had in the community. How do people respond to it? Was it helpful? What's your thought looking back on it now?
I mean, I think that it's bound to be helpful, whether people think that it would be or not, to remember the people that we've lost to COVID-19 for a couple of different reasons. One of them is we've seen throughout the course of, since March 2020, basically throughout the course of the pandemic, and its impact in this country, we've seen it become sort of a political football. We've seen it become something very divisive. And we've also seen people's attitudes towards it change, attitudes towards taking precautions change. I hear the phrase post-pandemic, and I think we're not there yet. Remembering how many people passed away from COVID is really important to inform that kind of conversation. So I think that for the community at large, it's important. I think also, of course, it's always important to individuals and to families to have the opportunity to remember and to honor their loved one who died. I find that very often when I talk to people who lost loved ones to COVID, it's sort of a little bit different conversation than I've had with other people. It seems like there's something particular about COVID that is sort of a specific kind of grief. We haven't had something like this happen in 100 years, in a century. So it fulfills a number of purposes.
No, I mean, I think you're right, Ruth. I mean, we have to remember back to what it was like in COVID. If you got sick, you were isolated in the hospital, you had people were passing away with a nurse by their side instead of the family member, out of the building. And again, I know you lost members of the Muslim community there, as we did around the country. May Allah grant them the highest rank of paradise. So tell me, Mohammed, a bit about, how your community has been changed by that experience. Do you think people, take their deen, life, the purpose of life, a little more seriously after seeing such a horrific event occur? Just what's your take on how people have been impacted by COVID, the wall of memories, in recent years?
I think most people in general are taking this pandemic seriously. They are following the precautions and the safety safeguards, getting vaccinated. For the first couple of years, because of the pandemic, the CDC regulations, there were no congregational prayers in our local masajids and all that. But since late 21 or early 2022, we have seen folks returning, initially with mask mandate, but still attending congregational prayers. And in general, at least in our community here, local community, most folks tend to take this pandemic seriously. But if I had to put a number on these, I think like 80% or so are taking it seriously in our area. But there are still pockets of folks that still think that this whole thing is a hoax, and they would refuse to get vaccinated and all that.
Yeah, I mean, that's, no matter what happens, anytime a major event happens, there's always some people who just won't accept reality, right? There are also reasons why you might want to take something or do something, but just deny it's a real occurrence or tragedy. I mean, you all have seen it. You put it on your wall, all these people passing away. That's not imagination. It's history. That's a fact. So we ask Allah to have mercy upon the members of the community who are lost, and reward you both for, creating a way for people to cope and remember their relatives. So they're not just a statistic or a number, that's forgotten on the million people who passed away, but something locally that recognizes the people for the human beings they were. So may Allah reward both of you for those efforts, and may Allah protect us from having to do anything like this again in the future. But inshallah, we all hopefully, grew stronger as people as a result of this. So thank you, Ruth, and thank you, Mohammed, for your time today and for your work on this issue.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We look forward to having you back in the future, inshallah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.